Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Myself Amit Singh. Today we are going to discuss one of the very important topic, real full stack project workflow from end to end. Because many people learn Angular, dotnet, SQL, but they still confuse how the real project work from end to end. So today I will going to explain step by step from requirement gathering to the deployment of the project. In real project, the first step is not coding, but the first step is to understand the requirement. So your client or your business team will tell you, we need to build the appointment system or e-commerce system or patient management system. So your responsibility is not to start the coding first, but your responsibility is to understand the requirement first. The next step will be the discussion and analysis. So now the team will do the analysis and they might be come with the some question like who is going to use this application, what the action is allowed in this application, like add customer, purchase order, sell order. So who is basically and how is going to use this application, what will be the limitation of the application, and what is the priority, like what can be the optional part, what is the must do part, and what will be the timeline for the application. This part is very important because even if you do the very good coding and you did not done the good analysis, then your coding part will be fail and your whole application will be collapse. Next step, where the actual full stack development work start. So full stack developer think in a three layer. First is the front end, second is the back end, and third is the database part. So the first part will be the front end planning, where the developer has to think what will be the page he needed for his application, like the login page, dashboard page, add customer page. And the second part will be the backend part, where you have to decide the endpoints, like what get endpoint we needed, like get customer. Then you have to decide the database part, the table you needed, what will be the relation between the tables, how the data will be stored in the normalized form, what the constant you needed. So that will be the last part as a database design. So next part will be the design and wireframe step, where you will see the actual visual of your application. So most of the company use Figma or any other application as per their requirement, but they have to design the application here. There will be, they design like the how the header will be look like, how the footer will be look like, how will be the dashboard, how the button will be look like. So the consistency of the whole application design will be decided here. Now if your design and wireframe part has been completed, now you can think about the actual development part. So basically the development part also will be the in three part, like front end, back end, and the database part. So first step, you have to decide the front end project structure, what type of structure you are going to follow. It is depend team to team, as per your team size, as per your project size. So you can decide what type of architecture you are going to follow for your project. So based on that, then you can start creating the component, the folder structure, the routing. So that will be the first part as your front end application. And then the next part will be the backend setup, where you have to create the .NET API application. You will create the project structure. You have to decide what type of architecture you are going to follow, like clean architecture. You have to enable the Swagger for the testing purpose. Next is database setup. So first step is you have to create the database in the SQL server. Then you have to decide the table and the relationship between them. Then your migration will work, the EF core migration. And if you done this part, then you can think about the actual coding part. So now let me explain you the flow from front end to back end to the database part. So let's take an example of adding the customer in the system. So the first step will be the front end, where the end user will see the form and he will add all the detail of the customer based on the defined rule. So when I'm saying the based on the defined rule or based on the business requirement, I mean the validation part. So many company want that based on the business, they want the customer PAN card mandatory. Most of the company don't want that. So based on your business, based on your requirement, the form will be displayed. The end user will give all the data and he will click on the save button. So after the click on the save button, the front end will call the API with the payload. Now the backend part will become, the backend will process the data. When I am saying that process the data, the backend will check if the all the data is the valid data as per requirement, if all the validation is passed. If validation is failed, then backend will again throw the error and send to the front end, where the front end will show the error message that this or that field is mandatory, or this or this field format is not correct. So that is the one step. If all data is correct, then backend will connect to the database and it will save the data. Once the data is saved, then backend will send the success code to the front end application, and front end application show the success message to the end user. So this is the complete flow from front end to backend, backend to the database, and database to the backend, and backend to the front end. In the next step, you have to think about the authentication and authorization part. This is a very important part because security is very important aspect for any application. So you have to think how you are going to authenticate user, like you are going to use the JWT token, or you have planned to use something else. Then the authorization part, like what the user have to access. So for example, if user has access the delete customer, so only if he has the admin right, then only he can delete the customer. So basically such types of flow you need to plan here. So next part will be the code push and code review. So if you think that your application is working as expected, all part of the application is as per expectation, as per business logic, then you have to now push your code for the review. So as per your company setup, as per your team setup, now your teammate will do the code review. He might be give some comment and you have to fix that as per code quality, as per company policy. And once your code is approved, you have to merge it in your base branch, and after the merging that, you have to build. So now the different part of the application, like the deployment part, most of the company use the CI/CD pipeline to deployment, but here let's skip that. We will discuss that in another video. But you have to deploy your application on the testing environment. So here as a developer, your first task has been completed here. Now the application will go to the tester. Now the tester will check all the aspect of your application as per business requirement. For example, he will check if the login screen working as expected, if user is able to see the dashboard as per the design document, if user is able to save the data, if user is getting the expected output as if he is giving the wrong data, if application is breaking with the wrong data. If that is the case, then the tester will log the bug and it will come to you again. You have to fix the bug and deploy it again. So that is the whole flow basically. So if this flow has been completed successfully, all is good, then the next step will be you have to deploy your application on the demo environment, where the business people and the client can access your application, and the end user will use that and they will check if all is good. Then your application will go to the production deployment, and once it will go to the production deployment, then the maintenance part will become later. So this is the whole flow from requirement gathering to the deployment of your application. If this video helped you, please like the video, subscribe the channel. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.